why I became a chiropractor. So when I was 13 years old, I grew up on the beach just south of Santa Barbara, and I used to go surfing quite a bit. And one day I was out surfing, and the waves were kind of medium big, and I crashed in the wave. And if you've ever been in the ocean in the waves, it's kind of like being in a washing machine. It just turns you over and over and over. And what I didn't know is that the waves were pushing me down, and it slammed me on the bottom of the ocean, and my back went completely out on me. Well, if you've ever had your back go on you, the only way that I could describe it is it felt like somebody took a giant human-sized vice grip and clamped down on my body. Where what was actually happening was all of my muscles in my back had clamped up like a rock, and I was paralyzed in pain, meaning I really couldn't move. So luckily I was wearing a wetsuit. Wetsuits float, because if it didn't, I might have drowned, and I floated to the top. And the waves pushed me onto the shore, and I climbed onto the shore, and after about a half hour or 45 minutes, my back relaxed enough that I could get home. So I went home, and my dad rushed me to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, they gave me some muscle relaxants and painkillers, and they sent me home. And what I remember, it was a long time ago, is that I had some of the most horrible dreams that night as a result of a side effect of one of the medications I was on. So my father brought me back to the hospital the next day. They took me off of the medications and said, you need to go see an orthopedic surgeon. So of course my dad found an orthopedic surgeon, and everybody's surgeon's the best surgeon in the world. So he found the best surgeon out there and brought me to him, and his answer was that he thought that they should do exploratory surgery. Back when I was 13 years old, they called it exploratory surgery because MRI technology wasn't available. So they would go in there and see what was going on and try and fix it. However, the surgeon at that time had said that since I was still growing, the likelihood of this being my only surgery was very unlikely, that as my spine grew and matured, I'd probably have to have more surgeries as I got older. So I remember being really scared at the time, and my dad didn't want me to have surgery. So we decided at that time not really to do too much about it. So for about a year, I suffered from pretty bad back pain where I couldn't surf. I didn't do physical therapy. I didn't go in school to physical education, to PE, and I pretty much laid around a lot. So my dad started searching again. And at this time, he brought me to different types of doctors. We saw neurosurgeons, like I said, orthopedic surgeons, and really they were all saying the same thing, that they thought that we should do surgery. And my dad they were all kind of saying the chances of it working, could work, but their likelihood, even if it did work, is I would need more surgeries.
Hey, better subscribe to this right now.
So a couple of months went by, and my dad came home one day and he said, you know what? I'm going to bring you to see this chiropractor. I'd never heard of a chiropractor. I had no idea what a chiropractor was, and he brought me that weekend to the chiropractor, and I went into this chiropractor's office, and he laid me on my stomach. And the first thing I remember is he started pushing on my stomach. It's what we call palpating. He was pushing around, trying to feel where the tight muscles were, and there were spots, that he found that were where I had problems in my back. And what was really interesting is he never asked me a word. And what was also interesting is no other doctor had laid me down and was feeling my back. But when he was done, he had one of his fingers in a point in my back, and it was in my low back. And I knew that that's where all my pain was coming from, because it was extremely painful, and he had found something in my back. And I was thinking, how does this guy know this? So he had taken some x-rays of me. He sat my father and I down, and he started pointing, do you see that? Do you see that? And I'm like, okay, whatever you see. Of course, we can see the picture, but we didn't know what he was talking about. But he said, look, give me about 2 weeks. Thinking, okay. And he said, I want you to do this. He said, you're going to come in 3 times a week. We're going to do these things called adjustments, where we put your back into the position it should be. And I'm going to have you start strengthening your core muscles, which are like your stomach muscles. And he showed me some exercises. And I'll never forget this, because we were going home. And I looked at my dad and I said, Dad, that seems way too simple. This has been going on. We've been to all these surgeons. They're telling us they're not sure what it is, but they're going to go in. They want to cut into me, and this guy seems pretty confident he could help. We have nothing to lose. And I remember saying this to my dad. He's like, yeah, that's kind of what I saw too. So 2 weeks later, I was out of pain for the first time in over a year. And that's when I decided to become a chiropractor. But the doctor knew exactly what he was doing.